Hi, this is Damien Marie AtHope, and I'm with a guest. Could you go ahead and tell us your name and what kind of an atheist you are?
I am Jeff Tadlock, and I have never liked labels, but I've had many people try to label me, and I have been labeled agnostic atheist, and
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what that means. I think it's because...
How about instead of telling me what other people label you, I wasn't, when I said what do you what kind of atheist, I'm just saying because there's different persuasions or different styles or different ways to look at one's atheism or whatever. So if you don't know, that's fine. If you know, it's fine. And if you have your own definition, I'm also fine with that because I agree with you. We should do what's right. I say axiological atheist because I feel that to my core. It's not something I had to add. No one told me. I realized, oh, wow, I feel so connected to this.
Well, I can wrap up what I am better just by really briefly. I do not have any religion. I do not have any reason to believe in any god or any gods. I think what people find where agnostic gets tagged on to me is that I tend to entertain ideas such as simulation theories, holographic universe. I kind of lean towards that kind of stuff a little more than I do your typical Darwinian evolution. I don't know much about evolution. I don't speak about it. And my head's wrapped up more in quantum physics and consciousness and things like that. So I think that's where that little tag of agnostic comes in. I wouldn't even dare put any kind of authoritative voice on evolution. I come from a background of being Christian all my life. I really don't know the first thing about evolution. So I don't study it. I don't think about it. And I'm not saying I don't believe in evolution. It sure seems like that's the case. I mean, when I look at me, I do look like I've evolved from something. I got nipples. What the heck do I got nipples for? You know, obviously evolution is happening, but my mind is more fascinated with I guess quantum physics and alternative theories for life, which gets that tag agnostic.
So are you saying that you held those positions as atheist positions? Or are you saying that you hold those positions thus you're unsure of your atheism?
I think it would be from an atheist position because, I'm not just going to say, oh, I believe in God until I see real evidence. I mean, to me, that the word God is a man word, a framed by man word, which maybe, if there is some sort of higher intelligence that meddled with life on Earth, like maybe aliens that are extremely advanced, who knows? Maybe they do exist. There seems to be some evidence from documentaries that might be a controversial subject, but who's to say that we're not the only life in the universe and that there might be more advanced life? And maybe they mess with genes. Maybe they mess with our genes down here. So the concept of this God that we get is...
Hold on a second.
Go ahead.
It sounds like what you're talking about is aquatic ape theory or ancient alien theory, and both those are debunked. So, I mean, archaeologically debunked. I have 2 links, actually. I made 2 blogs on it.
Sure. Now, I'm not saying I believe those things or support those things. Okay. I may be coming off on the wrong foot here.
No, I just wanted to clarify.
That my mind likes it likes to entertain alternative ideas.
Right.
I don't necessarily just completely reject alternative ideas. Is there life out there? Maybe there is, and so I think that is why I'm not a traditional called an atheist, but also I do believe I would be an atheist in the way that if there's not evidence for a God, I'm not going to believe in a God. And my idea of God is not man's idea of God. It might be something completely different than the way man has framed it. It might be, maybe the universe is, with the billions and billions of stars in the fabric of space and the connectivity of of with the gravity and the magnetic waves. Maybe the universe is one large consciousness. I mean, I'm not saying that's what I believe. I'm just saying there are so many alternative ways to thinking that this idea of God could be something completely radically different than what we think when we hear somebody say God.
So why don't you, since you brought that up, I'm an agnostic with an I, which is also considered to be a form of theological non-cognitivism, which means that terms like God, spirit, say heaven, hell, those are not real reality world, terms.
I agree.
In other words, when you express the term God, you can't point or think of actual properties that could enrich that term and thus give it, a valid status. No.
We agree. Yes.
What the God term is an assertion that then they use faith to believe. They assert it without evidence.
Yes.
Then they just willingly or they force themselves, or in a sense, I agree with David Silverman, you don't actually believe. Like a lot of times, I it's a good point. So a lot of times when I say that somebody chooses to believe, what I really mean is not that they actually believe. It's just they accept, which is what I think most religion is just a blatant acceptance. In other words, someone in power said, hey, when they were born, probably your religion was figured out before your birth. They already knew what you were going to believe before you believed. And then when you were awake and had a mind, then they already told you what to believe. You simply accepted. That's what I mean that they agreed or accepted.
Yeah, and in all that category, I would be put on the atheist shelf for sure.
Right. Well, I was saying that the doubting of the term or challenging before you even get by evidence, just a term alone is not logically consistent with reality. You're saying It's like if I said a square circle. You already know, what are you talking about? Because when you say, what I mean by that is people try to do this fast thing where they say, well, it's another universe. Oh, you mean not in reality? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're making a non-reality claim. Okay, now we understand.
You expressed that in your page a lot. And I actually went through your page and enjoyed a lot of your material and spent some time looking at everything you've done. And I see that approach that you make, one from just straight up, if it's not from reality, I'm not going to juggle it in my brain. Well, and I do like that, and I do respect that. I think because I come from, almost my whole life I was Christian, so I still have that baggage of imagination. Now, I have nothing to imagine over other than imagination. I admit that my thoughts are imaginative, and I admit that a lot of the things I ponder in my brain are not reality, but it's fun for me.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with fantasy. I'm not saying that. Just like I want other people to understand, I am a strong atheist. Some people call it Gnostic. I hate the use of that term because that's actually a religious theistic movement that happened. That was Gnosticism. It's an actual thing. So to try to tell me, as an extreme atheist, that somehow I'm connected to a religious movement is just laughable and absurd.
Yes.
Especially when there already is a better word for me called agnostic with an I, or like I said, or theological non-cognitivist. But to understand my atheism, you have to understand it's axiological atheism. And that's very hard for people to understand because it's value, disvalue. That's what it cares about. People don't realize almost everything in your life you've made a value. And that value you first had to enrich to give it value. In other words, if I have a car, you don't know how much my car is worth. In a sense, you can't assess the value, can you? So when someone presents us a thing like a God, well, unless you give me its qualities, I can't tell it a good God from a bad God. In a sense, I can't tell it a real God versus a fake God. I can't tell the difference between fantasy and a reality. I mean, if just the term, I'm not talking about evidence. I'm talking about just the term. When you offer something that's that empty, that vacuous of substance. And the people have this fault too. They think that if you have a definition for something, that's the same as its ontology or its actual status. In other words, a map may actually show you things, but it's not the terrain. See, people get this confused. They have this feeling like, well, because the map is not real, thus the terrain can't be known or is not real or is real. Now, the map could be fake. The map could be an error. The map could be old. Maps get updated almost every year, and they're still wrong half the time. I mean, there's like little errors. I mean, not major ones, but because roads are changing, things are changing. I mean, so the point is the same thing with evidence. I see evidence in a way that I break it down. When something is offered to me, I just don't accept it. I have what's called a belief etiquette. And what I mean by that is it's a standard. Nothing is going to get in. Nothing. What that's called, it's a form of rationalism, but what it is, it's rationalism type of skepticism. So it's called methodological or a process-driven searching. So what that does is it wants truth, and it does not let anything be offered that cannot somehow have a valid and reliable justification.
I love that. Yeah, I love that, and that comes through loud and clear on your page.
Right on.
Yeah. I will continue to be following you closely.
Thank you.
For sure.
And I really appreciate you. And what I like about you, I knew that you had quality and value, for me at least, right away, because you seem to be thoughtful, caring, understanding, helpful, teaching. These kind of things to me warms my heart, because that is quality of a human being. I always tell people, you don't need to tell me about a person. I can hear it in their thoughts and behaviors. I know the quality. I know the quality by just the fact of what you produce. So now that's why I wanted to have you on, because I really want you to go on and tell us right now about your page, about your stuff, about how you got started. What was your passion? What is your passion then now?
That's really easy for me to answer. These are the easy questions. All I have to be is 100% naked and honest. I was born to a fanatic Christian household. I mean, every Sunday in church, I went to, my dad didn't have a lot of money, and he was a single dad, but he was manic with Christianity. And I was weaned on being told stories about angels and revelation and God and the end of the world, all that stuff. I was taught young about all the connectivity between Old Testament prophecy and how Jesus fulfilled everything. I mean, I was 100% convinced I believed everything my dad told me. And he was so extreme with it, he even put me in a Christian school for several years. But so I was just hardcore believer. I thought the whole world was crazy for not understanding that Christianity was true all my life.
Yeah. But
before you hit record, we discussed our lives a little bit, and I have similarities with you a lot. You know, my life hasn't always been easy. A lot of rough times. And
could you expand on what you mean by rough times so people can know, as much as you feel comfortable?
Yeah, well, I for my audience, they know a little bit more about me. I do share from time to time, but it's a pretty big bag to unload. So I'll just move on with that. Okay. The biggest thing for me was I was a Christian all my life, but I always kind of in the back of my mind had issues with it. You know, why this? Why that? You know, I'm a decent person. I'm not a bad guy. How come God never blesses me? These kind of things. I started to wonder. And so at one point in my life, I really had a genuine revelation that, well, I need to just study my Bible. I need to figure out how to get closer to God. I need to do something else in my relationship with God. So I decided to study. And when I did that, everything, I'm intelligent enough. Whatever I put my mind to, I do it with a lot of intelligence behind it. So when I really decided to start studying the Bible, it was only maybe 2 years before I started to realize things are not making sense.
So hold on a second for the audience. When you say study the Bible, what do you mean by that? And however you want to express it.
I mean, I became obsessed with it. And it started as an obsession to get closer to God. Like, I'm doing something wrong. Right. God is not in my life. I love God, but why do I feel like there's no connection with this God? I've been Christian all my life. And so it started as that obsession. And I just became obsessed with studying the Bible. It's all I did. I kept the Bible with me all the time. I read it. I studied. I went to the library and got what really started to help me wake up is I started getting university publications from the library. And I've been obsessed with the library and getting publications, which is the backbone of all of my manuscripts, my writings, and my videos.
Or what? It's a library?
Scholarly material.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
And so what I did was I would go to the library and get these. I would take home these big boxes filled with CDs, the New Testament or Revelation.
They have that at the library?
Of Christianity from Yale University and these things. And I would go home and I would put these things in. I'd listen to them for hours and hours and hours. And these were secular. I didn't really know what I was getting into. I didn't think it mattered, secular or not secular. If it was talking about the Bible, it was going to be truth. But I started learning that there's issues and putting the pieces together. And then I woke up from my religion. I realized, hey, this is not true. And it was so profound in my life. It's when you go from 35 years of being a devout Christian to suddenly realizing it's not reality.
35 years?
It is huge. It is like, this is information like you just went to the moon. You want to share this with people. So I started writing down everything that I learned. I started writing down. And I came up essentially now with these 16 chapters that I call my 16 video DVD manuscript that I've been working on for years.
Cool.
And that's how my page began because I couldn't get anybody to read. Nobody today really likes to read. People like video. People want to just be served, catered to. I don't even like to read, to be honest with you. I would check out videos and DVDs. I did that more than I read. So I soon realized as an artist myself, I'm actually a music producer as my career, believe it or not, which has been another reason why my life has been rough. But anyways, so I couldn't get people to read at all. It wasn't catching on. I would post this whole chapter, a thread, you would scroll down, it'd take you forever to read through this thing. So I decided that, people won't read, so I'm just going to start making videos. And so I launched my page and put some videos up, and they were, people liked that, and people loved it. And, I'm an artistic guy, kind of weird. I got my red glasses.
Yep.
And
I like the red.
It became a brand. It became something where somebody recognized me. And I just went with it. And I did that earlier this year. So my page is all about the fallacies of Christianity.
Could you tell us what your page is? Because you have an audience, but I'm going to share this video too.
Yeah, I have a strange audience. My audience is a real dedicated and real active and they like to. I'm really personally close with a lot of the people that follow my page because they.
Could you really say the name of the page
in that way? I have a small audience. Your page is 5 times bigger than mine. But I do have a special audience, a very in tune with me audience, and it's called Stairway to Reason. And of course, I'm on your page, and I do post maybe once, twice a day, I think, on your page. But yeah, I started that page, and I started doing videos, and I'm an artist, so it came quite naturally to me. And so my page isn't really about atheism, although most of my audience, and most people call me atheist as well. I'm fine with that. Most of my audience, I'd say 80% of my audience is atheist. Most of my followers are atheists.
Right.
And I have a few in there that are spiritual people, but they don't like Christianity. But my page is pretty much exclusively about my experience of learning about Christianity and then teaching people about the truth about Christianity. So my creed on my page is, we are dedicated to eradicating religion and spreading love. And that's the page.
I totally agree with it. The page you're talking about is Axiological Atheism. Actually, it's Axiological
right.
Atheist. Because when I started it, everyone hated me. Everyone hated my term, said no one's ever going to say that term. No one's ever even going to understand it. No one even cares, like you were saying.
And you ended up with a huge audience.
And I said, no, they don't understand its value. I understand the whole world is about value. When you enrich the value of something, then someone goes, now it's valuable. That's what I was saying about a car. So I have a car out here, and you say, I want to borrow your car. And I tell you, no problem. You would feel so wonderful, happy, because what you've done is you figured out, from me, you're getting the value of the benefit of a car. So you're getting this value. Once you get value, it enriches your life. It makes you feel all this euphoric, good feelings. It's very positive. Human flourishing needs value. So,
yes.
So the fact is, but the car, right now, if I tell you, you can borrow it, but be careful, the car costs $300,000. Yeah. Now, that great feeling you have diminished, because now you have a terror to have to pay for the car if you damage it. In fact, you might even say, you know what? I appreciate you offering. I don't want your car to borrow, because you're too terrified. Now its value, even though it's a valuable car, its value to you is a danger. So its assessed value for you as a used car is very low. But if I told you my car only costs about $3,000, go ahead and treat it if you want. In fact, if it blows up, no big deal. Just call me. I'll get a tow truck. No big. You would be over the moon. Its value would be huge.
Yes.
So its usable value is not always the same as its actual value. And this is very important for religion. Your opinion of God, not you, but a theist, is huge.
Yes.
It's inappropriately large. It's inappropriate value. In fact, it's offensive value, because when you put an idea, a nothing, a zero-sum value by itself intrinsically, in other words, the thing itself does nothing, just an idea. No, it's what that idea produces. And like you talked about peace and love, see, those are two ideas that I totally think are wonderful. In fact, I know that those two ideas produce human flourishing. And so to me, they are mandatory as an axiological atheist. This is for people to understand. Axiology is like a humanistic form of anti-theism, would be the best way to explain it. I'd
never heard that terminology before you, and I liked it. I looked into your page a little bit to try to figure out what that was, and I really liked it.
Thank you. In fact, I just did a blog today because someone on my Axiological Atheist page, which you'd think they would get a clue, said that they didn't like that I explained atheism too complex, and I need to get over myself. And I said, so me being intellectual and having an intellectual form of atheism, why is that? What's bad about being intellectual? I'm not saying everyone has to have my atheism, but don't think for a second that simple atheism is somehow better than my complex, very detailed, supported atheism. How is yours? I'm not saying that, in a sense, as long as you don't believe in God, that's an atheist to me. But I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff that it fills that in. So like when someone tries to talk to me and offer me this empty, I see it as a value. They've offered me this box, and I can see it's plastic. I can see through it. It's nothing, but it has the word God written on the outside. And they go, look, this is a person. And I look at it and go, no, it's an empty box.
Right.
Because in other words, it contains no value. See, for something to me to contain value, it has to be either usable or have an innate dignity.
Right.
And a dignity.
Yeah, I love your how you've painted that picture of God. That's exactly the way it is. Yeah, that's. Have you explained it that way, metaphorically, that way before to people?
I'm a total natural. I'm an autodidact. I have a college degree in psychology, But as far as all my philosophy, all my axiology, just so you know, my axiology would probably like college professor almost. I mean, in fact, there's a video I have where I talk to a actual professional axiologist who's an atheist. And he was impressed with how well I know axiology and understand how to transmit its use. See, because he does more of like the mathematical stuff, because he uses it as a social science, because that's what it's used for formally. But and Christians love it. There's like several Christians that are axiological Christians.
Yeah.
But to me, they're missing, like, how exactly do you say that? Just think about the God. Let's forget if it's real or not. Let's just think for a second about the morality, which is the axiological thing. Is it good? Is it valuable? Is it beneficial? Is it worthwhile? Is it supported? Is it accurate? Does it match reality? Is it usable?
I call it evil.
Well, no, yeah, and axiology would say that, but first you have to assess. You have to slow down. First, you don't just say evil. First, you say, is it good? You need to establish why it is not. To me, I mean, you don't have to, but I've already done that. I have a blog called Axiological Critique of the Bible God, and I go through and explain why total nonsense. But see, just think that. But I was trying to get you to think. So, a God concept, right? Just the concept itself, removed from religion, just the concept of God. Inherently is that a strong being can remove the rights of humans at will and does it with impunity, and that we're supposed to thank him for this.
Yeah.
And to me, every single statement there is fascism. You know, it's imperialism. It's
husband syndrome.
Yeah, or like an abusive spouse. I mean, once you break down the qualities, you realize, wait a minute. Not only is God not real, the concept, if I accepted it, would be the belief that there's some person that can remove my rights at any time for any reason, especially ones that don't make sense, like not believing in something never proven.
Yeah. You remind me of the, I hope this doesn't offend you, the Jesus of atheism. I really enjoy how you package things. You put things almost in a parable or metaphor to make it really easy to understand. I like that.
So you can learn my style. Anyone who's watching can learn my style. You can learn my style. My style, okay, so like Peter Boghossian's philosophy is street epistemology. And my style would be kind of like that, but you just explain one thing why it's different. I do what's called truth navigation. And in that truth navigation, it has several processes you do. There's several things that I do that allow a thinker to have a higher accuracy in beliefs, a higher caring, a higher awareness, and a better morality. So, it allows you to actually get to people in a real way.
Yeah, I like how you explain your thoughts. Yeah, I like it. It's less terminology and it's more you paint pictures for me. I like that.
Yeah, well,
there's a few people, there's a few others that are good at that. And I like that. Like I watch a lot of YouTube, and the people that speak like you I understand their points a little bit better because they package it in a more artistic way. Maybe that's because I just have a brain that works like that.
Well, so so I have different things. So one of the things I do is called REMS, which is reason, evidence, and methodological skepticism. So what you offer me first have to be reasonable. I won't even entertain anything past that. If you offer me square circle, I'm done. It's already. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I'm showing people how to use thinking, how to slow down, and when you do this, you can do it every time, and you can watch. I can take on a philosopher. I can take on, and you watch how I do it, and I have blogs that show this. I teach this. I show it. I explain what I'm doing. I explain the process of what I'm doing. So it starts reason, evidence, and methodological skepticism. So the first thing is reason. It has to fit reason. If it does that, okay, now you've fulfilled that quality. Okay, now I can move to the second one. I need evidence, because I need evidence to support the reason. So,
yeah, I apply that same thing to Christianity, really. I mean, when people try to talk to me about the empty tomb, I'm like, I'm not doing that. Let's go backwards. Where do you come up with your evidence for an empty tomb? I'm not even going to discuss it.
Exactly.
And it's almost the same thing in my realm as well. I approach things the same way. I mean, if I have to, I'll be like, but I'll admit, okay, I will imaginate with you and we'll talk about the empty tomb, but let's just first get it straight. There's no evidence for any empty tomb. You are totally pulling that out of thin air, or somebody pulled that out of thin air.
Right. So you're making a logical challenge. And what dialectical rhetoric, as you said, I'm good at painting pictures, which is actually called, for me, in my own style, it's called dialectical rhetoric. Dialectical is like what the thing in street epistemology. Dialectical is the ability to ask truth questions and demand truth answers, in a sense.
Right.
So, and then rhetoric is the ability to motivate, to persuade, to be able to talk, to be able to have charisma. So I have dialectical rhetoric, truth-seeking, truth questions, and then I'm motivational. I call it motivational teaching. Because to me, I realize that it's not ideas that change things. Because if that's true, the ideas are there, right? So you say you read a book. So the ideas are there. They're already there. So it's not ideas. So how we change people is not ideas. That's why I always laugh when they go, Damien, facts never change people. And I go, no, you presenting facts never changes people. I change people all the time with my dialectical rhetoric. All the time, every day. In fact, I've rarely met too many people that have talked to me for an extensive period of time that do not realize that the way they think needs to be improved.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that mine does it. Why do you think it's the way it is? It is because I do realize it has to have value. My thinking, I'm talking about. Not not what's presented to me. Because the world presents whatever. But it's on me. It is the intellectual honesty to say, I need to have a standard.
I think it's a magnet. I really like it. I like your theme. I like your aspect. And I also like your page. And a lot of people do. I mean, you could fill up a Super Bowl stadium with your audience. So obviously you're doing something good.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I want to hear about your audience. So how did you come about? I mean, how did you go from you're a believer, then you became an atheist? How did you get to where you are now?
Well, I've heard people talk about where they think I'm somewhere, but I don't know where that somewhere is. I just have a page with a small group. I think maybe my audience is about 13,000 right now, so I could fill up a basketball court. But so I mean, when I post something, it's probably like I don't think I get as much audience as Joel Osteen does, but
I don't either.
So I don't think that I'm somewhere yet, but my audience is basically most of my audience are people that would subscribe to your page and enjoy your content. So we're pretty much in the same camp together.
Well, and we're also both lost Christianity at 35. That's when I lost it.
Oh wow, okay. So
I was a devout, and I've only been an atheist for like 10 years. The only reason I have so much stuff is I have hit this. Once I realized that I was wrong and that I had never even thought, that I had never even questioned, my mind like burns now. I won't let nothing in.
Yeah.
Everything is open to challenge. Everything. In fact, when people like always criticize me and stuff, and I just like, it doesn't bother me that much. You know what?
Yeah.
I think about it. Is it valid? That's always the first thought. Is it valid? No matter if it offends me or not, is it valid? And then I think if it is valid, then what should I do about that? Because I do not believe that we should understand faults and then have no desire to change.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, before you hit record, we got a chance to talk to each other and found out just how similar we are. If I were considered to be a teacher, I'm right on board with that. My theme when I go into teacher mode is it's okay to say I don't know. In fact, I find that to be a very superior place to be. When you're with a group of people that say, oh, I know this and I know this and I know this. The guy who says I don't know for sure is usually the guy who's got a higher amount of intelligence. The wheels are turning in his head.
Well, I think it's about being basically intellectually honest. There's a lot, like even me, I'm very sure about things. You'll hear me talk and you're like, wow, I'm sure. But then you'll ask me a question I'm not, and I won't show that surety because I don't have it. I have no problem not knowing things.
Yeah, I love that intellectual honesty. Yeah.
And to me, the thing I really like for you more than all the atheism and all that is your care. I want to change the world in a positive way. I really don't give a fuck about atheism. I care that that people are not atheists, or that people it's not even that. I care that people use gods to hurt other people. How's that? To oppress other people. They use gods to remove the intellectual rights of a child by indoctrinating them before their birth or after. I mean, it's amazing.
I did a video on that. It's so ugly. It's so bad to indoctrinate. I was indoctrinated. I don't hold a grudge against my dad, but it was wrong. It was very wrong. It closed my mind from being free to think about alternative explanations for life, to think about, I have the liberty now, and I take all full use of that to study things that I wouldn't have as a Christian.
Right.
Which I think if everybody is that way, our society would advance much quicker.
Well, and my thing though is that's why people like going, oh, what's my goal? My goal in a sense would be, I agree with you, to remove religion. I mean, to me, it's toxic, but more than that, it's not that I'm trying to force religion to end. I'm trying to force people to think. And also, just like you, I really want people to care. So you told me before that we started this that you had made some videos on caring or kindness. I really want to hear about that, and then I can have some ideas too.
Sure. Well, this is the weird thing, and a lot of people say, well, the good thing about religion is it makes it so that people love each other, so people are good at each other. I totally think that's BS. I can share my own testimony that it's BS. Once I divorced Christianity, I realized just how much more I valued life and how much more I cared. When I was a Christian, I just released a video that talked about how my heart grew 10 times bigger once I divorced Christianity. So that's a big part of who I am, caring.
And so can you explain that when you say caring? Could you give that depth? Can you explain its qualities? Can you?
It's pretty extreme with me.
Okay. Explain.
To where a lot of my peer group wouldn't even be comfortable with me sharing on the main page. I can certainly share here. It's so extreme with me that I actually I care beyond just human well-being, but I care for animal well-being. I support groups like Mercy for Animals. If I could be a vegetarian, I really would. I've changed my diet to where I only buy meat from local producers that have free-range animals. I don't buy factory farm meat, so I'm almost vegetarian now because I care so much about how animals are being treated, how people are being treated. I don't do politics on my page at all, and I won't share my political opinions, but I'm just against war. I'm against the suffering of, we are highly developed beings on this planet with intelligence, and we have emotional feelings, and we should prescribe to those completely and try to eradicate people that want to harm other people. Greed, war, hurting people, hurting animals. It's big. It's really big to me. And when I was a Christian, none of that mattered. The only thing that mattered is the earth is to subdue and dominate. Animals don't have souls. And if you're not a Christian, you're going to hell, buddy. That was Christianity to me. And so when I divorced that, this reality hit me. Wow, life truly is amazing and precious, and this planet is a really tough place to be in. We've got to, if we can alleviate how hard it is, we need to try.
So speaking of that, not that you have to tell us your political views, but so what is your process, do you think, that could benefit that occurring? Or what do you think others are doing, or in general just it would be good to do?
I realize that we live on a planet that's tough. We are a product of this earth, and this earth is competitive. The strongest survive. If you're weak, you get eaten up. That's the reality we are in here. We've buffered ourselves with homes and societies and governments, and we've kind of have a buffer from the reality of this universe and this planet. It's a non-caring, really tough place to be in. But I'm sorry, I lost the question. Where was I going?
Well, I was asking you how you think that you can bring this about. But
yeah. Okay. So first, I initiate that I understand the mechanics of this universe. It doesn't care, and it's hard. It's tough to survive here. But there are things we can do because we're intelligent, and because I think we're sentient. We have a lot of feelings, and we care.
Oh yeah.
You care. I see your cat there. You love your cat.
I mean,
have
2 cats.
That love is real.
Yeah, it is.
You can't argue that.
I agree with you.
And
I can actually prove it with science, but yeah.
It does in reality. And there are so many different ways to accomplish bringing love. If you're not a real intelligent, reality-based person like yourself, or real knowledgeable about Christianity and religion like I am, there's 100 different avenues you could take to try to bring peace and love to this world. There's 100 different ways. I've chosen mine. I believe if we can eradicate the Abrahamic religions, it will help bring peace, stability, and love to this planet. It's not going to solve problems. It's not going to solve war. It's not going to take away everything. But that's my contribution. That's to help bring about more love and more care. Because the Abrahamic religion divides people. You can see it between Ishmael and Isaac and Christianity and Islam. There's a schism there that should not exist between human beings.
I agree. So I wanted to address several things you said, but you said too many things to remember all of them. But the last one you said that the love won't end war. Oh, yes, it does. What the hell do you think ends war? It always people don't fight to win wars. They fight for the other person to stop. So how do you get the other person to stop without like destroying them like Hiroshima, just demoralizing, almost just human suffering on epic scale that they can't stand? The dignity cries so much that the violation of dignity is so great that they can't stand it. They don't want it to stop. But just think, when you do that to a people, what does that do? And so to me, the goal is not fighting wars. The goal is actually should be peacemaking.
Why does that problem even come about where you've got to kill 1 million people?
You don't.
You got to get to the core of it. Well, what are we doing wrong? We are not the USA and Germany and Russia. We are human beings.
I agree. Well,
where's the problem? And so it's so complicated.
It is complicated.
But a panel of experts.
Well, I was going to offer my ideas. I have several ideas on all that because it matters to me as an axiologist, which is a value theory and a value science atheist, an axiological atheist. It matters a lot. Value. I mean, because I know we operate in a real world that has value. The real world needs to have value enrichments, and then remove things that violate value. And so to me, like we're talking about animals. So to me, I see it as that dignity beings. You are a fellow dignity being. An animal, because they have feelings, is also a fellow dignity being. I have to operate with that thing. When I do that, it allows me to see them in a way that I didn't before.
Yes.
So I tell people like when the vegans try to say everything's equal, well, it's not equal. But you do need to see the dignity in things. I agree with that. Like if they say it's equal, let's say a person says all animals are equal. Are you saying an ant is the same as a lion? Are you saying a cockroach is actually the 100% equal to a...
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, they may not have thoughts and feelings like we do, but I know what my dog does.
Well, so for me, it's like a pyramid. There's things that still have value, but have on the lowest in the sense, because there's certain bugs that actually do not fully feel pain because they don't have the receptors. I'm not saying maybe they no one get mad that there's not some other way they could feel pain. I'm not saying that. So if somebody feels, I'm just saying that we know that there are insects that do not have the receptors to feel pain. And there actually are humans that can be born that have a disease. They usually die by 418, but because they don't feel pain, or they have almost no feeling of pain, and they actually it's not a good thing.
Yeah, I've seen that a few times. Yeah.
Well, but understanding that ability to have pain is the first category for my dignity being. So anything that does not feel is not a dignity being. That's just real simple, though. Anything that feels already is now in a new category. There's the non-living and then the living. What is living to me is things that have feelings that can experience and are a dignity being.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think of it more as a creature that has a similar consciousness to me. They fear, they get sad, they get depressed, they love, you know.
And for me, all those involve dignity. Like when you say love is the feeling of safety and a bond with another person. When you say bond,
my dog loves love more than most humans that I can think of.
But I'm just saying, when you say love, when you say I feel a bond, what are you connecting to? Their psychological? Are you connecting to their intelligence or their whole being? And when you say the whole being, the whole package of it, in a sense, that to me is the dignity. Because you don't violate their intelligence, do you? That would be their dignity violation. You don't violate their personal body, do you? Don't hit them, punch them. That would be a dignity violation. Or sexual rape.
I like that breakdown. Yeah,
so once you understand the category I've put them in, it then changes. You have responsibilities to not harm, to not rape, to respect. It changes the status. Then to me, you enrich the dignity status by elements of the thing. So the thing can feel more feelings. So that's the thing has more psychology. That's up. Thing has more emotions. It goes higher. In a sense, it changes how you look at all things. Axiology likes to evaluate things. And it basically looks at all things as having three properties for value. Intrinsic value and the thing itself. You, in a sense, are a dignity being. Because you experience stuff, I have to acknowledge your intrinsic dignity. Now, what you do, your behavior, though, may change my value of you, not your innate value. That doesn't change. In other words, there's nothing, even if you murder people, I hate you, you're terrible, get you off the street, you're unsafe.
Get you off the planet.
But I can't stop seeing that you are a fellow dignity being. It's tragic what you've done, but you haven't changed to become a tree. You're not a piece of paper. You're not a rock. You're not the God idea that's empty. You are a feeling being with properties that I must at all times respect that thing in you. And we do this.
Love that. And are you? And is this all wrapped up in describing axiological?
Yes.
That word.
Yes, well, that's do people understand? It's like doctorate level, pre-meta ethics. So, let me explain to people that don't know. So, like when people say morality, most people mean normative morality. I'm not going to get into all morality philosophy, but normative morality is like use morality, like in your real world. You got to make little changes, choices. I mean, you have to operate. The animals have to do in the sense of morality. They know you don't want them to shit on the carpet. So, you know what I'm saying? They know how to behave in a sense. That doesn't mean they're a little great at it, and they're, but they understand. So, in a sense, that property, the ability to understand matters. So, it builds on it. So, axiology is, in a sense, is the ground level. Like, if morality is the house, axiology is your foundation. You have to know, if I said, what's moral? And you said, well, you shouldn't rape. And I said, well, why not? You need to give me a reason why. So the value of why not to would be the axiology.
I see.
Because you say, well, you shouldn't hurt people. Yeah, but why not? What are you appealing?
That's a good word. I've never even looked it up. Is it in the dictionary?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. There's tons of stuff, tons of videos. There's a whole institute, I think in Norway or something, that has been doing it since the 70s. There's actually a psychologist, Leland Pelham, I think that's his name. I'm not very good at memories. Anyways, he's dead now, but he made a investigation where he did 30 years of psychology, and he really started understanding axiology. So he did a study. He wanted to see he feels like people behave axiologically. So he wanted to know, but is that just Americans? You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's just Americans because it mattered to him. He's a Christian. He wanted to know, is axiology based in Christian in a sense? He realized it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
It's science. It's not religion. So
yeah, I'll bet you're one of those people that can handle the moral debate with a Christian.
Oh, dude, that's my debate. In fact, it reminds me, dude, they will be eaten alive. Bring it on. Anyone out there that wants to challenge and do a debate? Anybody.
So when I get a moral debater, I'll send them to you.
Send them to me. I will. What I will do, first off, when I say eat them alive, I'm always kind. I believe this is more important because I believe that once you offer care, you put no longer a debate. It's an opportunity to learn. Not just for them, but maybe for me. I will learn something. I
call it removing the enemy element.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
But so to me, as axiologist, that's almost because I have to value the dignity of other people at all times. That person just told me they want to kill me. Well, my behavior is what matters, right? Not them.
Yeah.
I only believe
when you remove that enemy element, your message will get through better. Because when you have that enemy element, there's major filters going on between the two of you.
Well, and I realized I stopped respecting them. That was profound for me. When I was that angry,
wanting to cuss.
Yeah, I want to shame them. And I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing? Why? Why am I doing this? Once again, I'm asking axiological questions like, what's the benefit? What is the value? And I started realizing, okay, why I'm doing this is not because I want to argue with Christians or religious people. I want to help change the world positively. So I realized, well, Damien, if you want to do that, you cannot do that without ethics. You cannot do that without care. You need to be a champion for kindness. You need to sing kindness. So you grappled
that word and you incorporated that into your everything.
Everything, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not.
That's awesome.
I don't have to choose to be kind. It is a way that I realize is required of me as a fellow dignity being. I cannot.
It's how you get things done. Imagine a business where everybody hates each other. You ain't gonna produce nothing.
No, we rise by helping each other. And that's why I try to go out of my way to help people with no desire for what they can do for me. I do what is right because I'm available and it needs to be done.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So speaking on that note, what needs to be done? Could you please tell me more about the quality of your videos? Like what is for you? Like I can tell you like what I'm passionate about. What are you passionate? What about your videos? Not just you do them, but what about them do you like?
Well, my curse and my blessing has been that I am an artist. And I've recognized that. A lot of people don't know how to define an artist, but you might find a lot of people might be an artist and they don't even know it. But you have an uncanny passion for creating something, fabricating something, and you do it with passion and detail and a little flamboyancy, it's always a little different than the other guys, because you're an artist.
Right.
And that's my videos, I think. I really put my artistic spin on everything I do. Little subtle things that you wouldn't even notice. Like I get a lot of people asking me, what's with the backwards masking in your videos? I like getting asked that. I like that people noticed that I did that.
That's cool.
Because I'm an artist, I do little weird things. I'm not going to tell you what I said. You got to figure out how to play it backwards and try to listen to it, and it's fun.
Yeah.
So those are my videos. I put a lot of, and it's an evolution too, because I have done a lot of video work, of course. I did a lot of video work for some models, and I even used some of those images I did and put some of those in my videos, not very often, but I did do quite a bit of video production with both music videos in the past and working with some models and want to make some video. So I wasn't a stranger to video, but it wasn't my main forte. I've been a musician all my life and a music producer. But when I started making video, I really, I I see a lot of other videos, and they're kind of missing that artistic creativity that I think that I try to put in there. And
I think that your videos look great. I mean, my videos are probably like the exact opposite. I'm like an anarchist. I mean, I am an anarchist. I'm just saying that I'm an anarchist in almost everything I do, everything I think. If you look, my anarchism is like all enmeshed in my atheism has anarchism, my axiology has anarchism. You know,
what it is if you're into motorcycles and you're an artist, then your Harley Davidson probably looks really nice. And maybe your videos won't look so nice, but whatever you're into is going to be very nice. I just happen to be into video and music production, so.
Oh, I mean, no, if I could do it, if I knew how to do a better quality job, I probably would. It's just I'm too busy studying, doing other things. I figure, you know what? This is me. Maybe it's something different. I don't edit my videos. If I make a mistake, I make a mistake. I'm not afraid to make a mistake.
Well, what I'm saying is I actually come from a media production background.
Right.
So obviously that's where I'm going to be. That's where,
good.
like I was saying, for example,
need that.
That's where my passion is in media production, whereas maybe somebody else is in motorcycles.
Right.
Harley Davidson looks way better than my motorcycle.
Right. I don't even ride motorcycles.
It depends on where you're.
Right.
Where you're, what you've
value
been grounded in your life, and I just happen to have been involved for a long time in production, in media production. So, but it's been an evolution because I am a video blogger. I guess that's the word for it, right?
Yes.
I did get into memes. If you go to my page, I started doing memes, but I pretty much am a video blogger. That would be, I tried to launch a YouTube page, but it hasn't gone so well. For some reason, Facebook has been my where people have really enjoyed me. But I'm a video blogger, and it has evolved. I'm in the process of remaking all my older videos that as I've put all my time into video creation,
right,
I've actually gotten better at it.
Of course.
So I'm now having to go back and remake all the videos that I first started out with a year ago. They're remaking them all now, so that's what I'm doing now is in the process of making them all better. And then once that's done, I'll have a DVD launch, my 16 video series.
Awesome.
DVD launch.
Congratulations. I think it's good. I'll help it promote it, and feel free to promote it on my page. And if anyone watching, because I'm going to post this on my Axiology page also, you have the right to post things on my page. Because actually, when you first did it, one of my people came and said, "Hey man, some freaking guy is posting on your page." I said, "Yeah, I know, I know. It's okay. I trust him. I mean, if he does something wrong, then come tell me. But I mean,
right.
As long as everything is cool, he's kind. He doesn't treat people like a jerk. He's not saying, he hates gay people or something, and or God's real, or religion is beneficial. Then we're probably pretty good."
Yeah. Well, hopefully my audience notices you, and you grab some of mine, and there's chances are I'll grab some of yours. I think I may have already. I think my numbers went up like by about 100 since I started posting on your page. So.
You definitely will. There's a lot of people. I think there's like 46,000 on my Axiological Atheist.
Yeah. I mean, usually I had another ex-pastor, Kevin Wesley, is a supporter of my page.
Oh, really cool.
He posted some of my videos, shared some of my videos on his page, and that guy's huge. He's like close to 100,000 people. I mean, he's up there, and gosh, I think I grabbed probably about 500 of his people.
Cool.
So.
Well, I would say total I probably have almost 100,000 because I have a whole bunch on my blog.
Yeah, you have a lot of different forums.
I have a lot of different forums. I almost have 20,000 people on my blog. They follow my blog. Yeah. So, what's so funny? My blog has only been around for 2 years now. The first year I got 30th in the world, an award. 30th in the world for the most important blogs to follow. 30 in the world. 6 months later, they gave me another award. 15 in the world.
Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, before I met you, I think one of us realized, I forget how it all happened, but we realized we lived in the same city, so that created a special
That is funny.
connection. That was our introduction right there. Otherwise, we probably would have never met. That was that incentive. Hey, we both live in Seattle, somehow that was figured out. But before I officially met you, you do have a brand that's floating around out there. I had seen the red beard several times before. I didn't know who you were. I didn't know anything about you, but that image, you have that brand. It was like, oh, I've seen that before. No, I've seen this guy before. And I didn't know who you were, what page you were, anything like that. But I've seen you in and out of my camps. So yeah, you've been at this for a while, and I think a lot of people, even if they don't know who you are, I think they've seen your brand. I think probably millions and millions of people have at least seen your brand.
Well, I have just one video on my which is so weird. I only have like under 2,000 people on my YouTube, but I have like one video that has like almost 900,000 views.
That's great. Yeah.
And it has like 6,000 likes.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind me plugging something,
please.
I am definitely interested in somebody joining me and taking up my YouTube page and seeing if they can breathe some life into that. I just don't have the time. I really do need somebody. If they're interested, contact you and you'll be able to get a hold of me or go to my page. But if anybody's interested in doing this kind of thing, I mean, you can be a witness. There's not much money in it. I put out a tip jar on my page, but it's a pretty minimal amount. I mean, it's pretty much a passion of love. There's not much dollars that come in from it. But if you want to get involved in this doing what me and you are doing, I got a YouTube page I got like 300 subscribers, and I'd like to get it up to a couple of thousand, but I would need help. I need somebody to run it.
Well, you also need exposure, just like me. It's not that I lack quality. Every time someone interacts with me, they're like, whoa.
Yeah, so you've got great quality. Your intelligence behind everything you say is real sharp.
Well, I have 135 intellect or whatever. But I also have extreme creativity. You're talking about being an artist? Shit, I've been an artist since 5. I was drawing on shit, doing shit, got in trouble for, I never nonstop. In fact, I got an art scholarship, which is how I became a truck driver, which is weird. Mm-hmm. So I got an art scholarship because I painted I was in my school, and I found this like big piece of canvas, right? Like 7 feet by 5 feet. I was like, oh my God, and what it was an old piece that they had cut when they had made like a background for a play. Mm-hmm. So I took this big piece, right? They thought it was worthless, and I'll give it to me. I'll do something with it. It's just a piece of canvas. Yeah, but I'm going to paint on it. So anyways, I painted this big painting, but what I decided to do, because halfway through I realized, damn, this is a lot of work. Shit, this thing is huge. It's like 2 months later, you're still painting. But anyway, so I realized, you know what? All these people in the class don't know how to do art. Because I was in like a class, like an art class. I thought, I'm going to ask the people who don't know, hey, come here, I'll teach you how to paint. But my goal was, at the time, was not altruistic. The goal was, at first, was just greed. Just the fact I didn't want to have to do the work. But it was funny that after they started doing it, then I started feeling responsible. Because I realized this I guess I would say I realized it then. I know it now totally. That's how I see political, with responsibility. It's like the Spider-Man comic, with great responsibility. And with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
I realized that because I realized, wow, I can really influence these people. And I should be trying to help them more, not just use them so I don't have to do the painting.
Right.
My whole attitude is wrong. I got a realization. I saw the value. Ooh, and it did not feel good. That I realized, you know what? But I can change it right now. So I did. I started asking everybody in the class, you know what? Come here. And I started, in fact, the painting lost value. The teaching gained the value. It was a very weird feeling for me because at first, the painting had 100% value. People like 1. And all of a sudden, the painting came 5 and there was 95 for people. I started feeling this really wonderful feeling of kindness. And I realized, wow, this is a really unique thing. I have responsibility, but that power and that responsibility are enhanced with my care, with my kindness. It's like it gives them a superpower.
And, collaborating, too.
Oh, massively.
I know me and you, people might be interested to know that me and you have talked about collaborating on a video idea that probably will go down soon, and we'll come up with a good topic, good theme. And
I mean, I personally, the thing I was thinking is, you said that you don't get to post about kindness or caring or whatever. I would like to do a thing, caring atheism. Or like I have an event coming up. I'm flying to Indiana to do caring firebrand atheism. Because I think that the opinion of like firebrands are that they all are all assholes and don't care. I'm extremely firebrand.
Yeah, are you going to film the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, if you want to put some of that footage in my hands, I would be more than happy pro bono to maybe put something together for you.
Oh, I would appreciate that because I got said already. I told you I don't really do all that, so that would be great. Especially that because I'm doing it to really protest Christian theocracy, a theocratic type of government that Mike Pence, especially from Indiana, wants to do. I find it to be a violation, and so I feel like atheist rights are in threat. I need to go there and protest this. Why is not more people atheists? Why are we waiting for other political whatever? We could all get together. You don't have to be on a political side of either or. How about the fact you're an atheist? This guy wants to remove your rights. That should be enough for a liberal. That should be enough for a Republican or a libertarian or an anarchist or whoever, socialist. Doesn't matter. People want to remove the rights of atheists. I'm an atheist. I care about other atheists. That's not okay with me.
It's a big deal. Did you know that right now there are some states where you will not get elected if you do not profess a belief in Jesus?
Totally agree.
It just won't happen.
Well, just like at my Indiana, right? I post the thing. Some guy comes on there and says, let's hang him to kill me. If I show up in Indiana, they want to kill me. But see, but like I was trying to say is how, so the question is not this person's terrible because there's always terrible in the world. But the question is, how did I respond? Am I any different? I want to say I'm caring firebrand atheist. Once again, like I told you, you shouldn't have to say good things about me. It should be plain as day in my behavior and in my way that I deal with people. Easy.
Yeah.
So to me, because to me, character is not something that happens just on the people you love. I mean, Hitler did that. That doesn't make him a good person. No, to me, character is also in how you treat the ones that hate you. Now, or the ones that you don't like, or the ones that you hate. Now, if I see you treat kindness to someone you hate, my feeling of your character is humongous. Huge.
Yeah. You know what's ironic? What is truly ironic is that is exactly what Jesus teaches in the New Testament. And Christians don't even see that.
Yeah.
They act in the complete opposite of who they call their teacher.
Right.
I mean, I actually think some of the things Jesus taught were what me and you live and breathe by. And here, Christians, they act the total opposite.
Oh yeah, they took a seemingly anarchist, liberal or anarchist
like
socialist. Yeah, exactly. And then they somehow made him a Republican right-wing nut job. Like
made him a god.
Whoa.
The creator of the universe.
Well, you know, speaking of God, what's really interesting is two things. I always hear people. First off, I'm not against people that like mythicism. I just like realityism. So I like using archaeology, anthropology. I want to get in the ground, get into stuff, ethnography. I want to find what do the people know, how do they think, not just the Jews, but everybody else around them, because then you can kind of have a better picture. You don't want to hear a story just from one person, like you especially when you already know the source's bias is all fuck. But anyway, so to me, I'm not saying I'm against mythicism, but to me, what I always find funny is why does no one ever do the mythicism of Paul? There's no more good evidence for fucking Paul that really, and then I'm saying as a unit of a person. There's these letters and stuff that they say is from him, and they say he went to jail, and they say that person, but a lot of that is say. Let me show, where's the proof?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They take it, and that's why it's so funny to me. They go, well, the myth of Jesus. I go, yeah, and Paul, and Moses, the myth of Moses. Do you know that the 5 books of Moses actually list talking about Moses' death? And saying Moses was a great guy in the 5 books of Moses?
Yeah, I know. I don't think many Christians get that.
Like, okay, so you realize that's a myth too. Or at least you got to admit that he didn't write them, because how can you write something after your death? I mean, that would be some skill. That's Jesus level skill.
Yeah.
Walking on water skill. How the hell do you, or coming back from the dead, how do you go ahead and write the stories about your own death? I mean, you know what it reminds me of? The same illogicalness of the Jesus story. Like when Jesus supposedly, now the book story, right, wasn't there. And what's really interesting too, not one of the books is written by one of Jesus' disciples, which is also very interesting. So, but first the fact that Jesus supposedly is all alone. So even if there was a disciple, they wouldn't know. So Jesus goes by himself and then talks to God. He's crying about, I'm going to, go on the cross.
And then somebody records that conversation.
How? You know what I'm saying? Once again, it's just like the fact that Moses is so skilled, he can write about his own death. I mean, that is some skill.
Well, it's very clear that those books are anonymous for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Most people title their work. Most people do, even back then. And, of course, you probably know this. It's pretty well known now that the titles to those Gospels don't exist in the early manuscripts. Those were added later. So those books are anonymous.
Well, plus Mark is first, and Mark doesn't have Jesus raising from the dead. And actually the verse that comes at the end of Mark was put in there fallaciously. And
it's more than a verse.
I know, correct. Yeah. Well, I get more into archaeology. I don't care as much about the Bible. I know facts about it, but to me, it's like this one guy. He got on me because I debated this street Christian. I ripped him, showed him he didn't know what he's talking about. He couldn't even defend God.
It's surprising how little Christians know about their books, but especially their history.
But an atheist critiqued me because I said the Gospels of Paul. He goes, you mean the Gospel of Paul? Like, oh my God, I said an S.
The Gospel of Paul. Paul did not write a gospel.
No, well, there's a thing that you can look it up. If you do a search online, you say the Gospel of Paul, you'll find that term. I'm not saying they consider what he did as his gospel. But that's just all I'm saying is I said S. There, you cannot find that. If you put Gospels of Paul, you won't find that. If you put Gospel of Paul,
the epistles.
No, I understand.
Means letter.
No, I understand that. But I'm saying if you do a search online on Google and you say
you'll find it. Huh?
You'll find it, but not with an S. I knew this. It's just when I talk sometimes.
Oh, so they call the epistles Gospels?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No. It's the Gospel of Paul. All of that, in a sense, is Paul's gospel, his expression to the world.
Oh, okay, I think I understand. So you're saying his entire volume of epistles, people call it the Gospel of Paul.
You can find that term. I'm saying, but it's a biblical term. It doesn't even matter. I'm not saying about that. I know that. Okay.
Yeah.
And so this guy, though, he was just critiquing because I said the Gospels of Paul. I added an S, and there is.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, dude, whatever. I'm going to say
I see where you're going with it. Okay.
Well, to me, that doesn't have value because the Christian didn't even hear it. And he's the only person after 800,000 people or almost 900,000 people that looked at it that I actually know he said that. So, so I'm just saying sometimes how I say things, I'm a big picture person. That's super easy. Thinking super deep is like nothing for me. But sometimes like details, that's why I know so much, but sometimes I think it is so much information. It's like I'm swimming in an ocean and I get lost a little bit sometimes, right? Like, because it's like there's so much. But I don't really focus on my biggest focus. Like you said, Christianity. My biggest focus is the whole world's every single form of religion, every form, anism, totemism, shamanism.
Seem to me like your foundation for what you do is just the idea of reason itself.
Oh, definitely.
Reality itself.
Yeah.
We don't get into like for me, my focus is on Christianity. So.
Right.
If you get into Christianity and the details in Christianity, that's where all of my brain power sits. And that's why we need people like me, you, Dan Barker, you can name all the famous atheists, of course. Right. We need all these people because everybody excels in their own category. Agree. And when you put us all together, we formulate a football team.
That's right. And a very good one.
Linemen.
That's right.
We need everybody because everybody has their own forte where this part of their brain excels in one area.
So what you're saying is people are different, but they all have a value. I agree.
Yeah.
And like I said, to me, everything is you start seeing the value, it allows you to actually be more accurate in your choices, and you get more positive outcomes. Mm-hmm. So I totally agree that, and to me, the thing about Christianity, I know tons. We can definitely talk. I know a lot. I mean, because I came from a Christian, the first thing I had to debunk in my own mind was Christianity. Yeah. I mean, that's where I came from. So, I mean, I ripped that thing, a new asshole.
Yeah.
I have tons of blogs. I have things, there's a bunch of things I have blogs about that are facts that people don't know. Like I have this one where I ripped this part in the Bible where it talks about how many people got killed in the battle. And I prove archaeologically there wasn't even that many people in Israel, let alone that then there would be no Israeli. They'd be all Jews would be dead.
Those numbers are suspect, aren't they?
Well, so because the archaeologists, they know because they can look at the landmass, the buildings, they can get a general, and they said the numbers.
Right.
It's not even. It's impossible. It's not. Maybe it's wrong. There's no way it can be right. So to me, that things like that, and then I explain how many people were killed in the Civil War, how many people were killed in the largest battle between the Greeks and Persia. I'm trying to think if it was Babylon. Like I said, I know the thing. I know they did something that I was talking about. It's like the oldest and most intense war. So it's about, it's definitely not far from the Bible times. So you can't make those claims that somehow it's different. This is the same kind of people. These are also bigger. You're this little tiny force. It's like a little auxiliary army is Israel. Then you have the Greek army, which is like the United States. It's like the rebels in Somalia against the United States. So it is a joke for you to think that in the Persians and the Greeks hitting each other, their biggest war with the most death is like half of what you guys killed in your Bible. What a joke.
Right.
It's not, I mean, so I show that archaeologically there wasn't the people living there. See, I build the evidence against that belief. So
it seems to me like the Bible writers are just constantly pumping up their situation. They pump up their God to be bigger than any of the other gods. They pump up everything they do. They pump it up with steroids.
Well, there's two other things that you do. You judge the behavior. Like I said, I can tell a person by the behavior. So when God told David that he shouldn't take a consensus, right, which is a non-violation. Who gets hurt if you count people? I mean, seriously. Then what he did is he killed an innocent child to punish David. If that God was real, I would not want to follow him.
Yeah.
You killed an innocent child because an adult took account of the people living in his area without your permission?
Yeah.
Really? And you think that's why Christians, it's a good God, it's an all-loving God. Really? You read the same Bible I read? Because I think
that way all the time, yeah.
Because that's a monster. The first off, let me explain. The Jesus story is hellish because it has human torture of a proposed innocent. Okay? That would be hellish if it happened to any human being. So it's a hellish story. It's not a good story. It's not a labor of love. It is a hellish story. And then it's about a devilish God. It is a God who wants torture for him to be able to forgive a non-crime. That is the most disgusting thing. How could that be anything but, like you said, a moral terror or unethics?
Yeah, I try remembering what it was like being a Christian when I read those passages that now when I read them, I see them at face value.
You're right.
But there was a time when I would read these passages as a Christian, and for some reason, I think, what do they call it? Cognitive dissonance?
Yeah.
For some reason, I just read over it like it wasn't even there. Like things that a normal person would read it and be shocked. If I remember correctly, when I was a Christian, it's almost like they just read over it and they don't even remember what they just read.
To me, also, they have a value problem. Because what they do is they say, well, the God is the most valuable. And the God has the rights to actually set value. This is horrid. So the God decides, so this fantasy nothing term that someone invented and then is using against you. So I always say that God is the three-letter noise people make to justify their bigotry. Because that's generally what they do. Because it's so amazing to me how you have so many Christians. It's like there's like 46,000 denominations or sects of just Christianity. There's like just in the English language, there's like 158 or something versions of the Bible. What?
Yeah.
And then it's supposedly the one truth? No. And then what's really crazy to me, I've never even met, like, it's so funny. Everyone always assumes they talk about Christians, these are what I hear about, or I see atheists doing this, they generalize, like somehow it's, we think there's no God, and then they think there's a God, they're somehow all together. Oh, hell no. In fact, if you took Ray Comfort, and you took, the other, street, famous, liars for Jesus, if you took all of them, they don't actually even believe the same Jesus. Because they'll claim, well, Jesus feels that. Oh, I know Jesus wouldn't do that. And their person, no, Jesus wouldn't do that. Or you mean you wouldn't do that. And then you push your personal belief. Like I say, the God is a three-letter noise that people utilize to express their bigotry. They will, because
that's funny because the same thing happens on my page all the time. I tell you what, I get more entertainment from Christians than you would think, because I will have a Christian that comes in on my thread on my video, starts debating me, and then before I know it, another Christian jumps in, and I'll tell you what, you wouldn't believe how many times I can just leave the party and watch these two Christians fight with each other.
Especially if you start it. I know. But you get what I'm saying. I feel like the atheist movement has not assessed that, dude, these people aren't even together.
They're not. They're divided.
So that alone should be...
I'm telling you, what I just told you happens a lot.
But we should be able to start using that against them as an element to show them, okay, let's just assume I agree that Jesus is true and that the attributes of Jesus are known in the world. How do I know you know that? Because I hear this other guy who you're friends with even, but remember, there's a difference. You and me are atheists, in a sense. We're not making positive God claims. How's that? So we're not making positive God claims. That would include people who are agnostics or whatever. Even could be a Christian, doesn't really believe. Or is questioning. So we're not putting a positive God claim. You are. My lack of evidence doesn't need, like, in a sense, some kind of assessment. You and me, we have to figure out, okay, we're not positive God. What elements need to be not positive? I don't know. How about not the God? But see, so in a sense, no matter if we're universes away in our philosophic thinking, when it comes to the God thing, we're right there. because in a sense, there is no position. It's like a nothing. It's just that it's a rejection of the bullshit that you're trying to push on me.
We might as well discuss the leprechaun on a box of Lucky Charms.
Exactly. So
that's how similar we are on the God thing.
Right. But what I'm trying to say is, but that means our power, because actually all these other words, and I'm not saying I like words, I like terms, but I want people to understand too that in the base of that, atheists, agnostics, skeptics, rationalists, humanists, all of us, secularists, we're in a sense, not free thinkers, whatever. Even like I said, could be theistic people that are questioning. In a sense, we are all equal. We are a massive power against these people that are offering these varied God-positive claims. But remember, if 10 of them are all offering different ones, but they all say God is real, they're all the ones that should look and go, wait a minute, none of us are the same. So in a sense, no religious person alive has a perfectly accurate to every other believer in the world. Unless they are like intentionally just copying everything. Because guess what? It's a mental idea. It varies.
Their truth claim is compromised by their division.
Yes. See, that's what I'm trying to say exactly.
Yeah, I mean, their lack of cohesion with one another, and each one of them makes a truth claim, but each one of them is on a different page.
And so that alone, logically, requires theological non-cognitivism. Because you cannot offer me an accurate thing, your thing is then assessed as not accurate, or at least you can't present it as accurate. So until someone does, I don't need to think about it.
That's right. Yeah. Get on the same page with your other Jesus podium speakers, and
exactly.
If you guys can all agree on something, then bring me that. Well, let's chew on that.
Oh, exactly. In fact, I saw a debate one time, right? This guy gets up there and he's ripping Christianity. I mean, and he's ripping God's. I mean, I'm like in love with this guy. Not in love, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, like his ideas. I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah. We're on the same page.
I do too. I love some of the famous atheists, man.
No. This guy wasn't an atheist.
I miss Hitch dearly. He was my favorite. He was everybody's favorite, I think.
I liked him. But this person though was doing this, and then all of a sudden he says he believes in some God. I'm like, whoa! This guy was ripping a Christian alive, and then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, but I still believe in a God, and I'm like. He believes in some kind of pantheism. But anyways, my point was...
I've seen that with Jews before. But I'm watching a debate, and this Jewish guy is just elaborately disassembling Christianity perfectly. And then I find out he's Jewish, and he's a practicing Jew.
But that's what I'm saying. I've seen that before. So I realize there's more than that. It's more than just understanding the qualities. It's... intellectual honesty of always putting that in every part of your life. And that's why to me, an axiological atheist is a way of life.
I wish, and I think some people just don't want that. Yeah. I think some people love to live in this world of mysticism, of voodoo and psychics and astrology. People love it, and that's a good thing to talk about, and it would be a good thing. I mean, I don't know if we're an hour into this or not, and most people are tuned away by now.
I have 3-hour videos.
Another time with a topic, but that would be a good one of mysticism. Just how do we deal with mysticism? How acceptable are we to it? Because we're men of reason, and
I agree.
But, to me, I'm a little more acceptable of it. I would be more than, I made a video. I said I'd be more than happy to do a rain dance with my Native American friends. No problem. I would do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. But
I believe in it, but I can find the enjoyment there. It's fun. But, and I understand it means something to them. It's probably sentimental, traditional, reminds them of where they came from. I don't have as much problem with that as I do. I'm a stickler with the Abrahamic religions. I really am, because this concept that if you don't believe, you go to hell. Even Judaism gets a pass from me a little bit. They don't proselytize. They're not trying to convert the world, and they don't preach hell. to me, the main problems are Islam and Christianity. If people got to have these mystic feelings and thoughts, and they don't want to be reasonable, and they don't want to live in reality, they like to live in this place of fantasy, who am I to try to force them out of that? But for God's sake, get rid of the condemnation and the division and the war that these problematic religions have caused for thousands of years now.
Yeah, I think it's really funny how they always like think that somehow we're the violent ones. Yeah, I'm the violent one. So that I said I'm going to go be carrying firebrand atheist. I didn't I didn't put down Christians. I didn't put down anybody. Yeah. And yet I get a death threat. But I'm not the kind one. They don't even see themselves.
I've gotten 2 of them. 2.
Oh, I've got more.
I had to alert Facebook, and they actually got back to me on it, believe it or not. Because you know how hard it is to get a hold of Facebook. It's almost impossible. But they got back to me. They took that message seriously, and they gave me they went through all the procedures I need to make my site safe, what not to do, never give out your location. I got this list of all these things, what not to do, and how to keep myself safe. But I did get 2 death threats in the last year.
Yeah, I have several.
Christians.
In fact,
They're Christian.
Yeah, I have Christians. The Christian in Indiana, and a Christian on my writer page, which has almost 11,000. I had more than that, but then I say things people don't like, so I leave. Whatever. But anyway, so I also have just today I got said all atheists should be killed. This guy writes that on my biggest video that has almost 900.
I've seen and heard that. Yeah,
heard that. To me, it's like, but they understand it. I have a blog that I explain to them. Christianity has 148 confirmed hate groups in America. You know how many atheists have? None. You know how there's actually Satanist, there is Christian, there's even like Jehovah's Witness, believe it or not. I actually know this. Gangs that have that persuasion or favor that religion. There's Catholic ones, there's Jewish ones. There's ones where they're the gang, but they want the people in the gang in a sense to like either believe like them or push their values in a sense. Mm-hmm. There's not one that's atheist. And I'm not saying that in the future there can't be, but I'm just saying that Christians are not looking at the reality qualities of the world and then making an axiological judgment that's correct. The correct thing is, which is more safe? I don't know. Atheism. It's funny, they try to go, oh, well, what about, the people that were atheists that killed people? Well, the ones they're generally talking about were actually dictators, authoritarians, that's not a quality of atheism. They just were authoritarians that happen to not believe in God. That is a different thing.
Any group of people is susceptible to a bad apple.
True.
Christian, any group. It's not bad people is not a product of some belief system. Somebody might argue that Islam tends to breed bad seeds a little more than other groups. Possibly, I don't know. I don't study Islam. But I've heard that being said that Islam is breeding hate groups.
I like accuracy, so I don't like that statement. For me, I wouldn't say that because
I'm uncomfortable saying it.
Let me explain what I mean by that. I'm against Islam, so it's not like but I'm not like an Islamist or something. I see the errors. But what I wanted to say is, I feel like there's a generalization. Not every branch of Islam is the same. Yeah. There is the Sunnis and Shiites that actually kill each other because they're so much not the same. So I'm just saying that not all of them act the same, do the exact same thing. So and I know a lot of Christians especially just see it as and then ex-Christian atheists often still see Islam in a kind of, I feel, too much like a Christian light. What I'm saying is, like it's all bad. It's the whole. They don't look at, well, it's got a bunch of pieces. I mean, you wouldn't say that the Westboro Baptist Church is the same as, Martin Luther King.
Right.
We can axiologically make that assessment and go, these are two things that are not similar. One is better than the other. One is promoting well-being in a sense, and one is not. But they're both the religious, so, and in fact, Martin Luther King did not want atheists. He didn't like atheists. There was an atheist, black atheist, that was just as famous and doing stuff as Martin Luther King, and nobody knows about it. But the reason why they don't know about it, because he was an atheist, and Martin Luther King said no. I think they were fellow socialists, but he said no because we don't want to, get people to, be threatened by atheism. But also, I mean, so I'm not saying it's not 100% like he was trying to oppress us, but he wasn't letting us have the equal freedoms, though. That's my point. It's not. I'm going to say he wasn't oppressing us. He was allowing other people to be with him, but they had to basically be under the yoke of the Christian moniker. So a lot of people are like, oh, look at those Christian champions. Yeah, and they weren't all Christians. Some people there were anarchists and atheists and humanists and rationalists and free thinkers. It wasn't everybody was just, sitting there sucking on, God, tit like as a mother. I mean, there's people that have other thoughts. And so to me, and there was agnostics. I mean, I'm just saying that, but if you only look at the one thing and just say, that's all, going back to Islam. So I'm saying that I need to look at Islam as not a unit of ideas. Right. It's not, because like if I said if we did the axiological assessment, we'd have to look at the whole history, 1400 years of Islam. Then we have to break it up in segments and see the benefit it offered, and so that would be the value, and then we have to look at the disvalue. What things did it do?
You can make a movie out of this subject. It's complex.
Yes, but my point is, all I'm saying is, so I try to be careful because, yes, I do think that there are ideas in Islam, see, not Islamentarian, ideas in Islam that definitely are extremely harmful, anti-humanistic. They're a violation to reason. They're a violation to care. They're a violation to humanity in general. I mean, just like going and destroying archaeology sites. What the fuck?
Right.
I mean, so that's something sick and wrong. Because once again,
the Alexander Library, man, that's the saddest thing. Imagine if somebody didn't burn that down. The wealth of information we'd have.
So to me, it's that. Just like in Christianity, I don't hate all Christians. If you're a Christian and you're like, a humanitarian out there fighting for people, we're friends. Yeah. I just don't think that you're correct on the God question. But to me,
funny thing is my best friend, my drummer, is a Christian, and my gosh, we literally had a conversation where we decided not to discuss religion with each other.
I'm the opposite.
Friends.
I try to just discuss religion, period. And then all I tell people is I don't ever attack anybody for what they believe. I attack people for their behavior if it violates ethics. I address their,
that's
thinking.
right, and that's where most of your Christian friends can agree with you. And
that's right. Well, there's people I have people that go, oh, you're such a hardcore, you're the strongest atheist because everyone else says they're agnostic and I'm not. I would say anti-agnostic, but personally, not against agnostic people. I'm just saying the idea for myself. Anyway, so to me, I'm that strong. My atheism is like to the freaking the floor. And then, everything about me, but I also believe, but I want to produce something good in the world. So to me, kindness, caring, empathy, compassion, tenderness, to me, when someone says that they believe that the best sport team is the Patriots or the whatever it was, Chicken Hawks or
Eagles.
I couldn't remember. Because I don't like sports. I can't stand it.
I don't much either. I watched the game, but I'm not into it myself.
Everyone always assumes I played football, so let me just say I never played football. Everyone assumes I like motorcycles. Never rode a motorcycle in my life, except on the back.
You look like a motorcycle kind of guy.
It's just I like hardcore rock. I like that's more my thing.
Old school Metallica.
Yeah, of course.
90 Megadeth, Slayer, Metallica.
Yes.
Even some Sepultura.
Oh, definitely Sepultura, and I also like thrash metal, like Testament and what's the other one?
Oh yeah,
Exodus.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I definitely but yeah, so a lot of people make an improper value judgment. They look at me and then they go, oh, I know everything about this guy, and actually they're not really totally correct. There's things about me. But like I was saying, so I really want to make a difference in the world. I want to make my difference in my behavior. So, and then I realized it's not enough to throw one pebble in the pond. So I need to get other people to be kind. I need to get other people to desire humanism. I want to show them. I want to show them, even as an atheist, you should be shining with ethics. Your ethics should be so beautiful that it touches the Christian, touches the Muslim, touches that they actually see a human. Because when they see that dignity, you can't stop seeing it and not feel the violation.
Yeah. Yeah. And to rewind a little bit on what we were talking about is how we were talking about people who hate. It can come from Christian groups. It can come from atheist groups. Yeah. I mean, nobody has the market on bad apples. And there are people that truly are bad people. And they can come from any group, any belief system. Nobody is safe from a bad apple springing forth from their group and going out and killing people. Nobody's safe from that. There are people that are just inherently born bad, and I plan on making a video on this, and I shared this story several times of when I first realized this when I was very young. I was a preteen, and I was walking home from school, walking down an alley, and I found some boys a few years older than me. I didn't know who they were. They were kids too, but they were in a different age group than me, like 3 or 4 years older than me maybe. And they had tied a rope around a cat. And they were swinging it around in the air and then bashing it down on the ground. I could not believe what I was seeing. It frightened me. I didn't understand. I'd never seen evil before in my life. I didn't know what evil was. I didn't know what bad people were. At that moment, I realized in my life there's people that are different than me. There are some people who love to harm things. They love to see blood. They love to kill. They love violence. Granted, it's not everybody. Thankfully, it's not the majority, but there are people that are bad. There are evil people, and they can come from any group. It could be some kid that just came out of church. It doesn't matter. It could be an atheist. It could be anybody.
It can. All I was saying before was that a certain type of thinking, see, because what I understand as an axiologist, thinking carries values with it. Mm-hmm. So if I say science is good, I'm saying that science has some valuable qualities. And so when I see the value and assess it correctly, I start seeing it. It allows me to make better choices. It's like you're saying about ideas, and I see the value of an idea. I see it but I realize what makes it valuable. So like when you said the word bad, what do you mean by bad? What qualities would bad need to be bad or not bad? When is the point that it switches over? These are very important things. But if you never thought about it, it's not that you won't maybe make the correct axiological choice. What it is you won't do it accurately every time. I have an improved accuracy to find value because I'm looking for it. It's like you said about the Bible. You read the Bible as a Christian, which I actually read the Bible twice, the whole thing. That's why people are like, you never read the Bible. Oh, I actually read it twice. So no. Yeah. Problem is, when I was reading it, I had blinder glasses on.
You had your Jesus glasses on.
I had everything Jesus does is good. If Jesus said, let's go rape Muslims, I would go, raping Muslims is good. Because I was that faith drunk. Just deluded beyond belief. But to me, that's what I'm saying. So now, as an atheist, like you were talking about, because I know Christians are, you use word bad. That's Christian language. Well, for me, no, that's not. That's me, awareness of an axiological value violation. That's a bad person. See, so what you felt is you saw this dignity being violated. Its well-being being harmed. And it should make everyone, when a dignity being is hurt, those things we should feel for feeling things. That is to me, just a healthy symbiosis to produce a better life. So,
I think that's inherent in most of us.
It is.
I think people that would do that to an animal or for entertainment, that is definitely a minority of people.
True, but let me go back to what you said about bad people. I know a lot about stuff. I have a psychology degree. At least I know a lot of stuff, but I mean, specifically, I know about. So most people, to me, when they say bad people, for me, as understanding psychology, I would place that in three things. One would be a person is a psychopath. To me, as a psychopath is a person that is born that way, as you say.
Right.
Now that's
what
only.
I think I'm talking about. Yeah.
All right, so it's probably like 10% in a sense, like really deeply bad. I'm talking about because once again, I am not saying that because someone's a psychopath, like they have the qualities. Like in other words, when they were born, they had the Rubik's Cube or whatever pieces that made them a psychopath. But see, that's not actually what makes them violent. Because all you're saying as a psychopath is a person that has one of two things. Either has a very low ability to assess empathy in others, so thus they don't care, because they don't really feel anything, and even if they want to try, they really don't feel it because they have a missing piece. People with Down syndrome, whatever, have that kind of thing where they just can't see value. They can't. They don't experience value even if they did see it the way we do. We experience it like rich, like in Technicolor, and they're looking like, in a dim, dark, black room and like trying to look at the little flashlight. So
I like the way you put that. Yeah, that's great.
So to me, that's what a bad psychopath, you say, born that way. But once again, to me, these are motivating and they're like aligning behaviors. In other words, you're aligned to basically go on a basic path. But it's not that your path, like let's say this person's a psychopath and they're going to be a harmful person. But that doesn't mean they're a murderer. Doesn't mean they're a serial killer. You see what I'm saying? They could just be a dick. They're the most dick, in the world. A selfish asshole. But in a sense, they're just annoying.
Narcissist, I think.
Right, yeah. But that can be annoying, but that doesn't mean murderous. That doesn't mean they're harming kids in the basement. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'd like to clarify for that because I do understand psychology, and once again, I don't like generalizations because then we get into harming people that don't deserve to be harmed. In other words, what I'm saying is there actually was a guy, a scientist that neuroscientist that wanted to study the brains of psychopaths because he wanted to see how do you know psychopath and not a psychopath.
Right.
Because let's just see if it is a
Is
brain.
there a mechanical difference? Is there something?
Well, because if it's a mechanical difference, maybe we can fucking fix it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe we can.
Or at least recognize them.
Or at least recognize, right? So at least be aware that they're there. So if something happens, we're not like I don't know. We know. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
But so
that way we don't wait till they run into a church or a school and knock off 100 people.
Correct. So when he went into the jails, right, and took the tests, he for the people, he wanted to figure out like a baseline, like in other words, what are their brains look like than what's a normal person. So he did his own brain. He did a couple other people too, but he did his own brain. The problem is he came back as a psychopath.
Wow.
Was profound for him because he doesn't harm people, but he thought he doesn't have a lot of care. His care is more like global and not individual. Like caring for an individual is a lot. It takes more than caring. It's like if you said care for humanity, easier for him, harder for care for this person in front of you.
Well, see, now I'm the opposite. Everybody I meet, I have some sort of gravitation to care about them, whether I've ever met them or not.
Well, you're highly empathetic.
I'm one of those people that'll say hi and start a conversation with you in the line at Safeway.
Right on.
I'm that guy.
That's cool.
Sometimes my friends have to pump me in the shoulder and say, "Man, leave people alone. Not everybody wants to be talked to."
Well, yeah, my wife says that to me all the time. Damien, the world does not need to know about atheism in the doctor's office.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you like people, so.
Yeah, and I like talking about atheism. I talk about it nonstop. When I'm talking with you right now, I do this nonstop. I get a massage, I go to the thing, go to the store, nonstop. I'm me all the time. But see, so to me, you understand that once you break down things like bad, like I just said, so you understand there's also levels of bad. I hate when people go, it's bad. Well, certainly There's not just one kind of level of bad. Axiologically, we need to be sensitive and look at it. Is it because that way we can make more accurate choices? Of like, let's say the guy's a psychopath and he's just annoying. Well, that's certainly not the same as this guy that's got people in his backyard in the ground. You know what I'm saying? These are not the same people. We need to know the levels of bad. This is bad. I don't want a dickhead in my life. That's bad. Axiologically, fuck that. I want kind people. So I want kind, healthy people. So this guy has it as a low value, but this guy over here that's burying people in his backyard, he has the lowest value. I need to know the difference. So when I say bad, there's a bad and there's extremely bad.
He's a true enemy. He's a true enemy to humanity.
Absolutely.
That passes from a bad guy. That goes into the
evil
enemy zone.
Well, it goes into evil because I like the reason I'm breaking it down axiologically is for the Christians or whatever that are listening. Because they have a feeling when you and me say bad and good or evil, they're like, oh, ha, ha, look at that, see, they're still Christian. No, I'm not Christian. I have an axiological awareness of the dignity in the world, the value in the world. And so when I see someone harmed, it should bother me. I don't need a God.
Like how you put that, yeah. I completely agree.
Well, why don't you go ahead and plug whatever you want, and we can go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, I was going to say my stomach's starting to get hungry. I've had a busy morning. Obviously, I was late to get into the computer, but I need to get lunch. But definitely, I would love to stay in contact, and I'd love to collaborate on something with you. I think I already accomplished all the plugging that I needed to do.
Right on.
And so. Well,
I really appreciate your time, and I